Good afternoon, National University. All right. So, good afternoon to all our students and, of course, our distinguished speakers, our guests, our faculty members. Thank you again for joining us for this afternoon's session of the Manila Bulletin Sustainability Forum 2025. So, once again, my name is Sam Thurman, and I will be your host for this afternoon and also for tomorrow if some of you are going to be visiting us again. Kumain na ba kayo? Who said no? Bigyan nyo siya ng Goldilocks kung sino man nag-no. Okay. No, but I really do hope that you've eaten because we hope that you have enough energy, no? And because we have a lot of great topics and speakers that we're going to be hearing from today, covering our topic on sustainability and empowering the next generation, as you can see here. So we're very excited and we're very grateful to have all of you here. But before we start, just quickly, I just want to kind of loosen things up a little bit, no? Can I ask everyone to just stand up first? Quickly lang, just stand up. Let's shake off a little bit of those, usually after we eat, right after that, the next thing we want to do is like nap or take a siesta. So let's just, shake things off a little bit. So just shake your limbs, shake off your limbs a little, all right? And then take your right hand and tap the person next to you on your right. All right? And then ask them, are you ready to learn something today? All right. Are you ready to learn something today? Okay. And then the person on your left, tap the person with your left hand, tap them and say, ang ganda or ang pogi mo naman today. Okay. Okay. All right, there we go. Thank you very much, everyone. Please have a seat. Thank you so much for indulging me. And of course, I'd also like to shout out and say hello to all of our NU viewers online. We are actually streaming nationwide, covering all the other NU campuses. So, guys, those are the cameras. Say hello. Hi, guys. Hello. Thank you for joining us also this afternoon. So, it's wonderful that we have such a broad reach because our topic today really is something that is so important and so relevant for all of us and especially for the next generation, for you guys that are here. So without further ado, enough of me chit-chatting. You're not here for me. So let's go ahead and cut through and start our program. So for this afternoon session, we are going to fill it with a bunch of different knowledge and discoveries, and we'll start it off with our first speaker. So sustainable investments are at the core of SMIC's operations. So since 1958, they have woven sustainability and innovation into everything that they do, creating real impact through retail, banking, properties, and portfolio investments. So to discuss sustainability you can experience, let us welcome SMIC's Head of Investor Relations and Sustainability, Timothy Daniels.
Thank you and good afternoon. It's nice to be here. This is my first time to come to the NU campus here, although I've seen the branch in the Mall of Asia near where I work. And because I'm with SM, of course, I'm quite familiar with National University. I've seen the plans, I've seen the growth, and I've talked to the executives and the family members. So I feel very involved with NU and support your basketball team. Go Bulldogs. Sustainability you can experience. I wanted today to be very practical about the things that we actually really do on the ground in SM. Because when we talk about sustainability, I think for a lot of people it can sound really very distant, right? It can sound like we're talking about global targets. We're talking about reporting frameworks, scientific reports. We're talking about policy stipulation and compliance. That's not really what sustainability is actually about. And I think for most Filipinos, those terms, those things that we think about in the corporates and the academics, it's really a little bit irrelevant. What we really want to think about is sustainability every day. Sustainability is a part of who we are. And so in SM, that's also the approach we take. We think about every part of what we do and how does sustainability play into it. So it's not a side program, it's not a chapter or a report, it's part of who we are. So who is SM? Well, I think you already know us as a big group. And within the group, we have retailing, we have banking, and we have property, which is principally the SM malls that we all go to at the weekends. We also have other investments in things like renewable energy and in logistics. within the group. So we are a big group and we have to do a lot of things. But the vision of the group is very, very clear. And every word in this vision is carefully chosen because it all means something about how we act. So we see ourselves as trying to build an ecosystem of sustainable businesses. And those businesses are catalysts for responsible development in the communities we serve. Those communities are our hosts. So for us, when we try to put that into action, it means sustainability is something that must be felt. And it's not something in the future, or it's not something that's far away. It's here and today. It's in all the small actions. So that means sustainability has to be woven into how we design our integrated cities and our properties. It has to be woven into how we operate our malls, how we curate our stores, the merchandise, the experience, and how we empower our people in order to have good, sustainable habits. And it means that sustainability needs to show up in everyday choices, quite often in ways that people don't realize until you look at what you're doing. So we try to design communities that actually reduce people's travel time. It's the bag that you bring to the supermarket. It's the water system that you're not aware of, but the one that's using recycled water in all of our properties. And the energy we're using that is renewable energy that is powering our malls and our different businesses. So when we say sustainability you can experience, what we're trying to say is it's sustainability that you can walk into, sustainability that you can choose where you live, choose where you shop, and it's sustainability that should enable you as a person to grow. Now, the word ecosystem was there in our vision for a purpose, because we don't see ourselves as just a big company. We see ourselves as working with many, many other groups of people. And we all need to be successful and win for SM to win and for everyone to benefit. So for us, this concept of stakeholders all operating together as an ecosystem is very important. If I just step through some of the key groups that we've had, like our customers, our people, our partners, we can talk a little bit about some of the practicalities. So it all starts with customers, and particularly because we're a retailing group. So we know our customers, and we have a deep understanding, we think, of what they want and what they need, and that comes from decades of serving them. Those insights help us to design our products, our stores, and the experiences around them. And part of that, we've learned that from research that over 70% of Filipinos, particularly young Filipinos like yourselves, really want to make sustainable choices in their shopping habits. You prefer sustainable products. So it's up to us to make sure those products are easy to find, you can check that they really are what they say they are, and that they're affordable. We have a program that tries to make this easy. We call it Green Finds. So we check products that we put on our shelves, and we have found over 20,000 Green Find products that we tag in our stores because they're responsibly sourced, they're eco-friendly, they're low-impact. Fashion is an example of the kind of products we have, or they're healthier, or they're more natural personal and healthcare products. And some examples would be, if you go into Toy Kingdom these days, you will find there's a range of toys which don't use plastics. They're using wood, bamboo, organic cotton. This is so that we can have more sustainable products, and in so doing, we can start to teach young children about sustainable habits. In fashion, we try to encourage suppliers who are more eco-conscious. We have brands such as Code Blue who produce denim, and they do so using less water and fewer chemicals in the production of their products. And ideally, these suppliers are also using recycled fibers, so we have circularity going on in the materials for sustainable living. This sustainability goes into the very store that you're walking into, the thinking. So when you walk into many of our stores, we've now got 22 stores nationwide in 22 malls, which we have designated green stores. That's because they're intentionally designed to use global green building standards. So they use energy efficient lighting, they use better ventilation, they have water saving systems. They're aligned with the World Green Building Council standards and the ASEAN energy standards. As I say, as of October last year, we have 22 of these green stores nationwide. And the third thing that happens in our retail environment for our customers is we try to encourage people to have good habits. Good habits that are simple, but also sustainable, that you can carry on doing. And a really good example of this is the eco bags that we have. So eco bags, reusable containers, circular practices that we can practice at the checkout. We actually started early in 2007, ahead of the regulatory requirements. We had a program called Be a Part of the Mob. Mob, M-O-B, stands for My Own Bag. And as of today, we have avoided having to use millions of plastic bags that would be single-use and would end up in landfill, or even worse, in the ocean, if people were using those instead of bringing their own bag, which we encourage. So these are examples of simple, everyday actions that we can encourage through how we think about the habits in our stores. That's our customers. The next group of people that we deal with is, of course, our people, our own employees. We have over 140,000 people who work across the SM group. Actually, we've got hundreds of thousands, possibly into the low millions number of people who work broadly in SM, if you include our vendors and our tenants and our suppliers. But when we just look at the people we can directly work with every day, it's about 140,000 people. That group of people has to be diverse because our customers are diverse. So we encourage diversity within our workforce so that our people reflect the people they're serving. Not a lot of people will realize this, but actually 2/3 of the employees within our group are women. We're one of the country's largest employers of women. We also encourage women in small MSMEs, and we try to source, particularly in some of our stores, products from women-only organizations in the provinces. As well as 2/3 of our workforce, nearly 60% of our senior leadership are women. So we think we're a very female-empowering company. But we also try to look after other minorities within our group. We have PWD-friendly pathways, and we look at our building designs, we look at our office practices to encourage PWD members of society to fully participate. We have gender-neutral restrooms, we have breastfeeding rooms, wellness rooms. We do this in our offices, we also do it in our malls and across our premises. We try to be equal opportunity to get into the group, equal opportunity to get promoted, equal opportunity to get rewarded across all members of society. We try to teach our people about sustainability. So I think we could probably claim to be one of the largest education providers for sustainability in the country. I know you've got courses here in NU, but in SM, we have our own sustainability school, which is specifically targeted at our people. And it is training modules that everyone from the rank and file all the way up to the most senior people can take. We've had tens of thousands of people take these courses, and through it, we offer people their own accreditation and certification from the SM Sustainability School. And generally, people find it really enjoyable and very positive. They actually want to learn so they can put this knowledge to use in their own lives. As a result of this, we've been certified as a Great Place to Work certification. That's something we're very proud of because it also demonstrates that when you have people-first culture and you focus on sustainability, those things can work to mutually reinforce each other. The third group of people I'd like to talk about is MSMEs. So small businesses, medium-sized businesses. And by the way, this is most of the businesses in the Philippines. I don't know if you realize, but actually companies like SM are the exception. We're noticeable because we're large, but most of the employment in this country actually happens through the MSME sector. It's the backbone of employment and the economy. SM actually started out as one of those small businesses, 60 years ago. And in our journey, we've grown up with our suppliers, we've grown up with our tenants, we've grown up with our vendors. We see these as partnerships because actually we need them all to be successful in order for us to be successful. We're like an armada of small businesses all working together under the SM umbrella. In our malls alone, we have over 100,000 MSMEs in our 89 malls nationwide. And we have specific stores like Cultura, whose purpose is to try and promote local Filipino SME products. So they have 158 small enterprises across the country. Many, like I was mentioning earlier, are women-led or they're small community-based enterprises. And they're producing everything from chocolate products to piña products, to handicrafts, to woven fabrics, to goods that people will export. And the biggest thing they sell is actually Philippine mangoes, which, take it from me, I always take these as pasalubong when I leave the country. Philippine mangoes go down really well outside the Philippines. The number one product inside Cultura is actually the dried mangoes. So these are all coming from small MSME suppliers that we're trying to encourage. And within the mall of SM, we have a program called SM for MSMEs, which is where we provide advice, we provide space, we provide lower rents, we provide funding, and we tutor companies in order to get access to markets. In our communities, we also recognize we have a responsibility and we try to uplift lives. That's that catalyst part of the vision that I talked about. So when SM opens a mall, it's not just a retail environment. We're actually trying to create a 15-minute city. The Mall of Asia is a very good example. Within the Mall of Asia, you have an NU campus, you have a mall, you have residences, you have offices, you have entertainment, you have 3 hotels, so it's actually a tourist destination. You've got the arena, you've got the SMX Convention Center, and they're all within a 15-minute walk of each other. So the goal here is reduce people's travel time. I mean, we all travel around Manila, right? But if you can reduce people's necessary travel time to 15 minutes, quality of life goes up, the emissions of your vehicles goes down, and everybody is more productive and has a more enjoyable life. So the way we design our cities is intended to be sustainable. Let me skip a couple of slides and talk about the environment for a second. So I've talked a lot about our stakeholders on the social side. But the environment is, of course, one of the critical ecosystems that we live in. The big things here to talk about is probably energy, water, and waste. So on the energy side, we all know we need to reduce our carbon footprint. SM Prime, the property company inside the SM Group, today, over 50% of its energy needs comes entirely from renewable energy sources. And they're going to get to 100% by the year 2040. That is our commitment, and they're on the way to getting there. In BDO, our bank, we're also trying to help other companies reduce their carbon needs. So BDO Bank is currently funding and supporting 63 renewable energy projects around the country. Everything from solar to water to wind to biomass to geothermal. They've put over 1 trillion pesos to use in order to develop these 63 projects so that we can have more renewable energy for other companies' uses as well. At our parent company, we recently bought a geothermal company called PGPC. They produce about 300 megawatts of steam, which is actually part of the renewable energy used by our malls. But we're actively investing that in 6 other areas around the Philippines. We're going to ramp up the production using that underground steam that the Philippines has as a renewable resource, and it's incredibly clean. It's like oil, but it's 0 dirt, and you can put it back underground and it becomes very circular. So geothermal is something we're very committed to. On water, we recycle almost 16 million cubic meters of water a year. And we do it in creative ways. So in Baguio, we also have rainwater catchment facilities. We then treat that water and it becomes the water that's also used in the malls. In Jamilo Coast, which is just down the road, 2 hours from here, we have desalination plants. So we turn seawater into water that can be used within the hotels. And if you go to the residences, the SMDC residences around Moa, the water that comes from those buildings is cleaned and recycled, and it's then used for watering all of the plants around the Mall of Asia complex. When we look at waste, we have to separate waste, and we have to find ways to reduce landfills and to use it effectively and circularly. So with plastics, we formed a joint venture with a Japanese company in the last 2 years called Goon, and they take plastics that can't be recycled and they turn it into alternative fuel sources. So we're trying to take a problem and turn it into a solution, a win-win, a 2-part win on that one. We're also separating our waste, and we're looking how to develop taking organic waste from the restaurants and the food courts in our buildings and using it in composting to create topsoil, which can either be used for our own gardens around our properties or donated to LGUs for municipal parks. That's the next thing that we're going to try and develop on the waste recycling side. And we have a hashtag SM Waste Free Future, which if you're interested, you can go and see all the various initiatives for the different types of waste after we separate it out. In the Philippines, the environment must also factor in the reality that we might be losing. We need to be prepared, and even if things don't get much worse than they are now, we have too many disasters, too many typhoons, and we need to look after each other, our properties, our communities, and our physical environment. So disaster resilience and preparedness is a key part of what we do, and we've done this for a very long time. You know, flooding is a very important topic right now, I understand that. But if you go to the Mall of Asia, it doesn't flood. That's because over 20 years ago, it was designed in anticipation of climate change and flooding becoming more prevalent with more typhoons. It's elevated, it has superior drainage systems, and it has sea walls that push water back out to sea in the event of storms. So the Mall of Asia just doesn't flood. In other places, like in Marikina, we know that is a floodplain. Flooding is unavoidable. So the solution there was we built the entire mall on top of 260, I think, stilts. So the water flows underneath. So our assets don't get flooded, our tenants don't get flooded out, our customers can come back, and our employees can come back and carry on earning the very next day when the waters have receded. It's preparedness that counts. In SM Canabatuan, we know that is also susceptible to flooding and it affects the whole community. So when we built the mall there, we built large underground storage tanks that the flood water goes into rather than down into the housing areas. We try to capture the flood waters before it becomes a problem. And then after the storm, we gradually release it back into the local rivers. We're trying to be a good participant and member within our host communities. So disaster resilience is a critical part of sustainability and real sustainability impact for us as well. So all of these efforts, oh, by the way, I haven't mentioned, we also try to help people through our foundations. So we have programs that provide medical assistance, educational assistance, and these numbers come out in quite some scale. So we have been building clinics, we have been building medical centers, we have been funding scholars, we have been building classrooms, we have been running medical missions, which is running into the, not just hundreds of thousands, but it's in the millions now, number of people who are served. And this happens through our foundation, our CSR projects, but we work with the businesses in the areas where they operate so that we can also sustain the things that we build. Let me just close and then I'll show you a 1-minute video. I think I just about have time for that. So what I've tried to do in the last 15 minutes is show you examples across our SM ecosystem, how we do sustainability in practice. We kind of have 3 ecosystems, right? We have the ecosystems of our businesses, because all of our businesses work together to serve their customers. That's what makes us a strong group. But we also have the ecosystem of our stakeholders. So our partners, our customers, our tenants, our vendors, our employees. That's an ecosystem where everybody has to benefit. And sustainability is also about creating shared value like that. And then we have the physical ecosystem of the Philippine environment, which is very unique and very precious. We need to minimize damage, and we need to be resilient against challenges to that environment going forward. So we try to make our sustainability practical across all of those ecosystems. I think we're trying to do the right things, but we're not trying to do it because it's expected of us or because there's a report or because foreign investors want it. We do it because it's the right thing to do for our businesses. We're here on the ground, we're not going to go anywhere, and we want everybody to win. It's part of our responsibility. I will just stop talking and we can play 1-minute video. I mentioned MSMEs, and I just wanted to give you the perspective of what it's like to be one of those MSMEs that's benefiting from the program that we put in place to help them build their business. I'll stop there. Thank you very much for listening, and play the video.
At SM Supermalls, we champion local entrepreneurs, giving them the biggest marketplace to thrive and succeed.
Ni-refer lang po ako ng friend ko na nagbabasar dito sa SM. Kasi magandang opportunity po ang SM. Pag sinabi po kasing SM, high quality.
Kapag bumabaha, so yun po yung pinakakalaban namin pag nasa outside. Pero nung dumating po si SM, kahit bumabaha, halos sa lahat ng tao nagulat kami nandito sa mall.
The struggles really are low bookings of events kasi ang bookings every Saturday, Sunday lang madalas yan eh. That's why we joined the MSME.
Simula nung nag-join kami ng SM Bacoor, tumaas yung followers namin.
Malaking impact talaga si SM sa amin kasi yung traffic ng tao every single day and yung reach sobrang broad.
After we established or put up pop-up stores sa mga different SMs, calls got in, we have clients from different locations.
So sa mga aspiring entrepreneurs dyan,
We encourage you to join the SM for
MSMEs, sobrang laking tulong po niya.
Sobra, babaguhin talaga yung buhay niyo.
You too can be part of this growing community. Take the next step. This is SM for MSMEs.
And we'll catch you again later for the panel discussion. Oh, wow. So very exciting things that we've learned so far from SM, and a lot of the initiatives. For me, it's really the MSMEs. You know, that's a big, for me, I resonate very strongly with that, particularly with my job and where I work. So it's wonderful to see how SM is really supporting the backbone of our economy, and the initiatives that they have there to make sure that those are all sustainable. So thank you very much. So for our next speaker, our next brand partner is the flagship steel company of the Philippines, serving the country with over 2.4 million tons of rebar per year. With their commitment to preserve the environment, SteelAsia is the first in the Philippine steel industry to be certified in accordance with ISO 14001, the International Standard for Environmental Management Systems. So to tell us about how green steel supports industrialization of the Philippines, we are joined by a passionate advocate for green steel and green technologies in general. So I know this is kind of a very technical terms, no? So are anybody here engineers, architects? Thank you, sir. For the rest, what were the most of the courses? What do we have? Yeah, just go shout it out. Pharmacy, pol sci. Okay, so education. Oh, very proud. Education. Okay. Oh, daming education sa likod. All right, but our speaker is going to be here to help us understand what these initiatives are, what is green steel and green technologies. So he was a board member in the Thailand Press-Stressed Wire Industry Association and the Waste Management and Recycling Association of Singapore. So together with SteelAsia's community partner representative, let us welcome their Chief Technology Officer and Green Steel Advocate, Mr. Pek Hong Chong.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting SteelAsia to share our story with everyone here. This is also my first time at the NU Manila campus, and it's very interesting to see the young people full of energy and cheering the way for sustainability of the world. Okay, SteelAsia is actually a very focused company in terms of our business. We are almost, you can describe as a single product company, that's steel. But today I'd like to share with you how steel can really support the country's development. Yeah, and of course we are not as diverse as SM, yeah, but steel in our own way is really essential for every growing economy. Next slide, please. Okay, the Philippines is actually in an era of high economic growth. In ASEAN, we are typically the fastest growing or the second fastest growing economies for the last 10 years or so, together with Vietnam, the two fastest growing ASEAN countries. And what does it mean by fast growing economy? We are looking at very strong growing demand, for housing and infrastructure, for jobs creation. So essentially, the economy needs to continue growing to create jobs for the growing population. And steel is really essential in many ways that is not obvious to everyone. But with economic growth, with urbanization, building homes, building cities, with industrialization, building factories that create jobs, building supply chains, all these use a lot of steel. And today, climate change and ESG actually influence how steel is going to be produced to meet the requirements of the country. And I'll explain to you why. Of course, ESG, we typically, is what people referring to, environment, social, governance. In the past, this is seen as something that's good to have, but you will realize that in the corporate world today, it is an essential part. Every organization is expected to have its own ESG focus on how it can grow sustainability, and it's not just grow. Next slide, please. Now, about industrialization. Steel is one of the key essential pillar of industrialization. And industrialization infrastructure is also supported. Manufacturing continues to grow, and industrialization also needs energy transportation to support. And how supply chain in a country, especially an archipelagic country like the Philippines, need to have good connectivity for logistics. You will realize that steel is actually quite essential in every of these economic pillars, and we cannot really avoid using steel. There are always innovators who try to use new materials, but still, unfortunately, there's something we can't avoid because it is really an economical material that can support so much of the growth that every country needs. Well, technically, a country can import all the steel it needs to grow, but without a domestic steel, you will realize that industrialization will be slow, it will be expensive, we will depend on imports from the global market, which can mean, let's say, supply chain disruption at any time, and which can also mean loss of job creation for the Filipinos. Because today, the Philippines actually imports more than 80% of its steel requirements. We are growing so fast, but so much of the jobs in making steel are actually overseas. And if Philippines can actually make more steel, we actually can retain many of our Filipino talents in the country and create so many more jobs. And I will share with you in the next few slides how it actually happens. Next slide, please. Coming back to climate change. So steel belongs to this unenviable category of hard to abate sector. Some of you may have heard this term. So globally, the United Nations have set a target to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. So we are 25 years away from there. Every year, there is actually a climate conference, like currently it's happening in Brazil right now, to find ways to accelerate this process because the world is actually in danger of missing the target. Unfortunately, there is this category of material called hard to abate sector: steel, cement, plastics, heavy transportation. So this category of activities happen to be very essential to mankind, to our growth, to our development, but extremely difficult to decarbonize. So this becomes a bottleneck because if you are to reach net zero and we cannot decarbonize the hard to abate sector, it will actually cause us to miss the target. Missing the target means a lot more climate disasters coming in the future years. It is something that is bad for everyone in the world. Next slide, please. So what is it about this hard to abate sector? Let me share with you about traditional steelmaking, which I won't go into very detail. Traditional steelmaking uses iron ore mined from the ground and coal also mined from the ground. And many of you would know coal generates a lot of CO2. And this is the way most of the world's steel is being made today. Next. There is also another way to make steel, and this is already called the green steel. And you will notice in the picture on the slide, you see a lot of renewable energy. So renewable energy is essential. You also see scrap recycling. And you see heat recovery. So these are, I wouldn't say the latest technology, but these are actually proven technologies which are already mostly tested. Some commercial operations have already taken place. And these are the alternative technologies without the use of coal to make very low CO2 emission steel, and generally called green steel. So this world, there are these two ways of steel making, but most of the steel in the world is made using the traditional way. Next slide, please. Many of you may not know, in the Philippines, we have one of the world's greenest steel plant. And it is actually in Batangas province. It's operated by SteelAsia Calacao Works. Compared to traditional steelmaking, SteelAsia Calacao Works in the Philippines actually produces steel with nearly 90% lower CO2 emission. So what we are doing actually is one of the very important solutions to tackle the hard-to-abate sector the world is facing. Next. Because steel is such a key input to many industries, contributing also significantly to a circular economy, so it is unavoidable that the country needs to use more steel as we grow, as we develop. But what can be done is then how do we ensure that our growth is sustainable? And green steel is one of the answers. You will see on the left side that if we have our own steel, they can actually contribute, of course, significantly to building and infrastructure development. But not only that, it also contributes to equipment manufacturing industries, which the Philippines does not have a big one. We can also grow the automotive industry should the government and the private sector work together to make this grow. Appliances industry, imagine making washing machines and televisions and all the other household appliances in the Philippines itself. Metal products, yeah, imagine the Philippines making other machines, manufacturing equipment and exporting them, as well as other transportation. So you will realize that many industries actually need to make use of steel to make the final products. And steel also happens to be one of those infinitely recyclable material. So being part of a circular economy, we actually do not, once steel enters the value chain, it doesn't go away. Even at the end of life of any machine, any car, any construction material that we demolish, we can actually recycle that. That is what we mean by infinitely recyclable material. So steel has this unique feature, and we should take a full advantage of that when we develop the economy, how to find ways to make the steel sustainable. Next slide, please. So SteelAsia, in our own way, is trying to contribute to this sustainable development in the country, to promote industrialization through the green steel. We are already today the largest steel company in the Philippines, but as I said, the Philippines still import more than 80% of the steel it needs. Today, SteelAsia makes only rebars, but it's not just SteelAsia. The whole Philippines, our tiny steel industry only makes rebars. But SteelAsia has a vision to expand into products that the Philippines is importing a lot today, including construction steel, like the channels, the angles, the steel beams, the sheet piles, and also industrial materials like the wire rods. And all this going into the infrastructure and construction industry of the country. Next, please. So SteelAsia is a 60-year-old company, and we have been growing over the years, contributing to the growth of the industry, and we do it in a very environmentally responsible way. Our vision is to lead the development of the Philippine steel industry, because steel is really essential in any growing economy. Next. So our growth strategies can be broken down into three parts. Making steel in the Philippines. We are not a steel trading company. All the steel that we sell are made in the country. And not only are we continuing to do that, we want to expand ourselves, make more steel in the Philippines so that the country relies less on imports. We are also making new steel products, pioneering the manufacturing in the country where we currently import so much. And in doing all that, we are choosing to do it the environmentally friendly way, which is to make green steel. In fact, I will explain later about how our expansion plans is actually one of Asia's largest green steel development, and right here in the Philippines, which is very impressive even for our neighboring countries and abroad, which is why we have been invited to share our green steel story to many countries around the region, and even in, let's say, in Southeast Asia, in Japan, we have been cheered upon and we have been supported in many ways on how we are helping to champion the green steel development in the whole region. All this development actually can help the Philippines to save $2 billion of foreign exchange. Yeah, this is a big support for the trade deficit reduction, almost 4% of the country's trade deficit. Our growth is also going to create jobs. So as I shared with you, industrialization is not just about making more companies, but it's also about creating jobs in the country. If steel is made in the country, then jobs are created in the country. If the country depends on importing steel to support our construction and infrastructure, we're really talking about exporting the job creations to other countries. And what we do is also going to give more opportunities for SMEs and bringing industrialization and urbanization to the Philippine countryside. All our expansion are outside the metro areas because we believe that this is where the people are really hungry for the developments and able to support our industrial growth. Next, please. So this is like a case study on how circular economy works. SteelAsia actually has partnership with like-minded customers, Ayala Group and Metro Pacific Group. The two companies have entered into partnership with SteelAsia to promote sustainable construction and circular economy. So how this works is that in their businesses, all the scrap generated is, instead of sending it to a regular scrap recycling company, they are sent to SteelAsia to ensure that these scrap are recycled in the country. And SteelAsia is able to produce green steel out of the scrap received. And the green steel goes back to the same companies, Ayala and Metro Pacific, because these companies also construct a lot of buildings, residential, commercial infrastructure, and hence the circular economy is actually live. And we continue to explore such partnership with other like-minded customers because we believe it is a true essence on how steel circular economy partnership should work. Next, please. As I mentioned, SteelAsia Kalaka Works remains as one of the lowest and the greenest steel plant in the world, and we will continue to replicate this in our expansion. And our CO2 numbers being 90% lower than traditional steelmaking is actually verified by DNV of Norway. Next. So we are not resting with only Kalaka Works. You can see on the right side of the screen, these are our current operating plants where we have one green steel plant in Kalaka. On the left side are our expansion plans. So all our expansion will go into new products and they will all be green steel with scrap recycling, and we will be maximizing the use of renewable energy, how we make green steel today. But we will be expanding our capacity significantly from the current 0.5 million tons of green steel to 3.5 million tons of green steel by 2029. Next. And with 3.5 million tons of green steel, it helps us avoid 7 million tons of CO2 per year. And that's equivalent to planting 200 million trees, or removing 1.6 million gasoline vehicles, or offsetting CO2 from 1.4 million homes. Next. So the expansion is not just a plan. In fact, construction is already ongoing. And you will see that this is a H-beam. Today, 100% of it is imported. And you can see that in buildings, in factories construction, in some infrastructure works. Next year, we will have the green steel H-beam made here in the Philippines, proudly by a Filipino company employing Filipino engineers, Filipino technicians. So coming very soon, and every year in the next few years, we will be having a new green steel plant. Next. Another new product, the I-beam. Next. Another new product, the green steel angles. And you can see that the telecommunication towers, the power transmission towers use a lot of this. Next. And this is another new green steel product that's also coming soon. Okay, next. With that, thank you for your attention. I hope you learned a little bit about green steel today and how we can contribute to the country's industrialization. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Ayun. Thank you very much, Mr. Chong. All right. So how are we guys so far? Are we good? Okay pa tayo? Okay pa? Yes. Will we be more okay if we do a raffle? Parang hindi. Isa pa, will we be more okay if we do a raffle? All right, there. So, we are gonna be raffling 20 winners, no? Courtesy of Mr. Chong from SteelAsia. Okay. We are gonna be raffling away H-beams. Parang hindi nyo narinig. So, ayan. So, we'll be raffling away some H-beams. You'll have a whole bakal that you can bring home. Okay? Alright. Hindi, joke lang. So, we have SteelAsia branded notebooks that we will be giving to 20 winners. Alright. So, congratulations to the following. We have Hayden May Agustin, Lorizel Joyce Fulgencio, Aisha Basit, Ariana May Agpay, Sean Bariyu. Sean, congratulations, Sean. Happy na happy. Okay. Christian Zion Joaquin, Mark Clarence Adriano, Jason Besario, I think this is Diane. Yeah, Diane Ishmael Morillo, or Dane Ishmael Dorino. Yvette Denise Compok. All right. Dustin Allen Navarra. Okay. Laika Jane Frias. Sofia Alipio. Wow. Paano pa kaya kung Sodexo to? Oh my goodness. Okay. Shayna Rain Banta. Okay. Kay Jillian Bangoy. Queenie Har Angonday, okay. Alenor Belmonte, Christine J. Bernardo, Maria Sofia Lopez, and Shuzain Magnifico. Ang saya talaga magpa-raffle dito sa National University. Sobra. As in even this morning, when we were raffling away the prizes, everybody's like, wow! Sumisigaw lahat. Okay. For those of you online, sumali ka na lang next time in person. Okay. All right. So once again, congratulations to all our raffle winners. Just remember to head on over to the registration table outside. Not now. Okay. After we're done. Just head on over to the registration table and you can get your prizes there. And just a reminder, for you to be qualified or eligible to join the raffle, we have to register. Okay? So if you forgot to register, you might want to register kasi may raffle pa tayo, okay, throughout the program. So sayang naman. Let's make sure we can capitalize on that. All right. So that being said, let me go ahead and introduce our next speaker for this afternoon, a long-standing supporter of this event, Megaworld Corporation. So Megaworld has partnered with the United Nations Global Compact to reinforce their commitment to champion sustainable development and responsible business practices in the way they do business. So, to give us an insight about Megaworld's transition to renewable energy, let us have on stage Megaworld's SAVP and Pillar Head of Sustainability Council, Engineer Ryan Salvador.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here today in this sustainability forum. So, as mentioned earlier, I'm here to talk about our journey, Megaworld's journey, and transition to renewable energy. As seen here in our first slide, every switch to renewable energy sparks a greener world. Do you agree? So medyo nawala yung energy natin, no? Wala kasing raffle. Do you agree? Thank you. So just to start off, Megaworld was founded by Dr. Andrew L. Tan in 1999, and Megaworld's a leading mixed-use real estate developer with commercial and residential leases. Megaworld pioneered the live, work, play, and learn concept. It's similar to the 15-minute city with the concept that in each township, in each development, you don't need to go out. Everything is there within reach, walkable, as mentioned earlier by our co-presenter, Mr. Tim over here. So this is a concept which started in 1999. It started in Eastwood City, and we have to date around 36 townships, among them Uptown Bonifacio, McKinley Hill, McKinley West, Iloilo Business Park, and a lot more. So today, we also have around 24 lifestyle malls, Eastwood Mall among them, Uptown Mall, Venice Grand Canal Mall, Iloilo Festive Walk Mall, and others, and over 700 residential developments. So back in 2020, the sustainability program of AGI, the mother company of Megaworld, was launched. It was given the title Sustainability. That was launched in February of 2020. But sadly, come March, the pandemic hit. Everything slowed down, but that didn't mean that the programs were stopped. No, so back in 2023, all the sustainability programs of Megaworld was relaunched under the Me Green program. So this program was conceptualized wherein all the employees are being encouraged to start sustainability within themselves, no? With the motto that green starts with me. Hence, it was called Me Green. And under the Me Green program, adopting the ESG framework, we have identified 4 pillars. And under environment, the first pillar is the sustainable townships and the road to zero pillar. And the social framework is the inclusive development, while under governance is the stakeholder engagement. So to give you a brief overview of each pillar, under sustainable townships, we have here our program for building certifications. To date, we have around 42 completed and certified buildings, 23 of which are LEED certified, 11 LEED Gold and 12 LEED Silver, 7 Immune certified, and 12 Good Travel Scan certified buildings. We're currently ongoing EDGE certification for selected buildings. And under the Sustainable Township is another program called Goal Zero Waste. Comparing our waste generation, we have already reduced 58% of our waste generated compared to 2023. This is per 2024 data. Around 2.7 million kilograms of recyclables have been diverted from landfills, and 400,000 kilograms of yard and food wastes composted. 100% compliance to the extended producer responsibility law. For those of you who don't know the EPR law, it states that plastic packaging should be recycled by those who are producing the products. If my memory serves me right, the first percentage to be recycled is around 20-30% for the first year. But for Megaworld Lifestyle Malls, we are 100% compliant because the bottles that we use in our uh, water bottles are already plastic offsetted, meaning these have already been, we have partners that recycle, and all of the plastic output from these have been already processed by those partners. In addition to that, each bottle that you buy, 1 peso goes back in building classrooms for the less fortunate. To date, we have already built 3 classrooms. Later, I'll be, sorry. Later, I'll be diving into the other details of the Road to Zero. But just to show this slide, we've discovered or we've noticed that 90% of our carbon emission comes from use of electricity, and 10% of the carbon emissions that we have come from the use of motor vehicles using fossil fuels and diesel generator sets. For the inclusive development, we have impacted employment by providing 7,000 direct employments to our employees and around 500,000 indirect employment. This will include around 250,000 employment for construction workers and around 260,000 for office tenants, around 8,500 for mall employees, and 10,000 works for agency staff. Where Megaworld is also proud to uh, say that gender diversity is good in the company, with 56% of employees being female. In fact, most of the heads within Megaworld Corporation are female. No, with the health, education, and livelihood, we have existing programs under Megaworld Foundation which support the small businesses and local communities surrounding the immediate periphery of our township developments within a radius of 5 kilometers. So we have instituted programs to support them. Under governance, Megaworld is proud to say that we have already been given the 3 golden arrows to date. With the road to zero, we have primarily 3 strategies, which is transition, conservation, and sequestration. I'll be talking into detail or discussing into detail transition and conservation. Under the transition, as the term suggests, it's merely transitioning to sourcing your energy needs to a renewable source. Back in 2023, we bidded out our requirement, and we have partnered with Empower to provide renewable energy for our contestable buildings under the Retail Competition and Open Access, or RCOA. For those of you who don't know, I won't bore you with the details, but these are just buildings having a demand of 500 kilowatts and higher. No, for these buildings, 68 properties having a total of around 109 megawatts, 85% of which have already been transitioned to Empower contract, and the remaining 50% are are still with their existing contract but are already utilizing renewable energy. Our target is to be carbon neutral by 2035, and we're happy to say that we will be hitting our target in advance because of this initiative and partnership with Empower. As for the other, as for the other properties, sorry about that. As for the other properties, we have the retail aggregation program, which we've partnered with F FGen. A retail aggregation program is similar to that of our COA, but here the qualified buildings should have at least 100 kilowatt of demand, and they need to be aggregated or combined together to form around 500 kilowatt of demand. So the other criteria for this is it should be within the same distribution utility and the same building owner. So if you have two buildings under Megaworld and under Meralco Distribution, you can join these two buildings and have a contract under the retail aggregation program. The Green Energy Option Program is another program by the government wherein contracts for 100% renewable energy are given to buildings whose demand is 100 kilowatt up to 499. So it's just slightly below Arcoa, but the difference with Arcoa with this one is that at any point of use, even during the nighttime, the energy should be used should be coming from a renewable source. So, ibig sabihin, if your only source is solar and you don't have batteries to store yung excess energy, and the energy comes from fossil fuel during the nighttime, it won't qualify under the GEOP. Providers for this service should provide 100% renewable energy all the time. So with our partnership with FGen, they will be sourcing their energy from their Bachman geothermal plant. And under the RAP program, we have around 81 properties enrolled. And under the GEO program, we have 8 properties enrolled. Now, we have discovered that there are 7 properties enrolled in the RAP program that have qualified recently to Arcoa. That's why you can see the Arcoa program still under FGen for this new contract. Another initiative that we have is partnering with Sky Renewables to provide solar rooftops in our existing buildings. We have around 69 properties all over the nation, which we enrolled in this program, and we have computed a capacity of around 14.1 megawatt for to produce solar power. To put it into context, 1 megawatt of solar generation requires 1 hectare of land, no? So ganon kadami din yung properties na ini-enroll natin in the program. The next strategy under Road to Zero is conservation. There are various low-hanging fruits like changing your ordinary light bulbs to LEDs, turning off your electricity during breaks, lunch breaks, tea breaks, etc. All of us also, especially in Megaworld, we promote the Township Observation of Earth Hour to promote energy conservation. But the other programs that we would like to highlight is efficiency as a service. Here, we partner with Bargas Building Performance or BBP. We have currently 4 malls which are currently operating with BBP under their chiller optimization program. So in this program, there's no capitalization being done by the building or by the mall, and the partner is being paid through shared savings. So if their target is to save around 200,000 per month, 100,000 of that goes to them as payment for lowering our energy usage, and the other half is being saved by the building. We've also recently awarded 3 additional office properties under AC optimization, but the system for this one is a water-cooled system. The technology, however, that they will be using is quite similar, using VFDs, sensor, and even artificial intelligence to optimize the settings of each of those components which cool our building. I think that ends our presentation under energy. And thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So I hope that if you have any questions, I hope you're sinusulat nyo lang, or you're keeping note of them, because after our last speaker, which is actually our next one na, we're gonna have a panel discussion. Okay, so and we'll be opening the floor to questions from you guys. So if you have any questions about the topics that we've discussed so far, or that will be discussed in our next from our next speaker, just feel free to take note of them, and then when we open up the floor later, you're more than welcome to ask them. So that said, our final speaker for our first day of the Manila Bulletin Sustainability Forum 2025 is PLDT Home. So PLDT Home is one of the largest fully integrated telco companies offering a wide range of telecommunications and digital services across the country. Their Better Today PH has reached over 45 million people with the programs on mental wellness, digital responsibility, and safe online spaces, helping shape a more mindful, empowered digital generation as part of PLDT's sustainability agenda under the social component of ESG. So to share more about sustainability every day with PLDT and Smart, we will be joined by one of their leaders who has been with PLDT since May of 2001. Okay, I don't want to have to ask this, but who was born after 2001? Anyone? I can believe that. Yes. So meron. Okay, the rest, mga 2000, 1990, may 1994 ba dito? Okay. All right. All right. So, were you all born after 2001? Yes. Oh God. Okay. All right. Shouldn't have asked that. But anyway, she's also held various positions, including Investor Relations Center Head and Property and Facilities Management Center Head. So please give a warm welcome to the Chief Sustainability Officer at PLDT and Smart, Miss Melissa Vergel de Dios, together with PLDT Home's Community Partner Representative.
Hi, good afternoon, children. I feel so old. Anyway, thank you for the invitation to speak with you today. Alam nyo, when we are invited, particularly by NU and other universities, ganadong-ganado kami, tsaka kalad-karin kami for 2 reasons. Why we're doing this sustainability bit at PLDT is for your future. But I guess when we speak to a crowd like this, you are future leaders. So what we want to be able to do is open your minds, provoke thinking, and maybe help you start imagining, what can I do when I graduate from school that will help the future? And who will I support by way of corporates in those that are helping you have a future physical space to live in? So I guess since you are 20, I've been 25 years in service. You were not born when I started working at PLDT, but this is for you. So listen to what we're doing, maybe think about it and provoke your thinking to see what you can do as future leaders. So by way of introduction, PLDT is a 20, who's doing the, I will borrow. So just by way of introduction, we're talking about age, so we're really older. PLDT is 96 years old, in fact, 4 years away from being a century-old company. Smart, which used to be the baby company, is 34 years old, older than you guys. And then some of the brands we have are TNT, Smart, um, and those are effectively, we are a Filipino company inspiring connections through generations. So my generation to yours, that's exactly what PLDT is doing, and your generation to your children. Now, as I think you might have heard this, what we're facing today is a triple planetary crisis, diba? There is a climate change, there's pollution, and there's biodiversity loss. And how does that relate to us today? I think in the typhoon that we just recently experienced, you will see firsthand how the interplay of that happened. There was a threat for one of the largest, strongest typhoons that was going to hit the Philippines, and that's really climate change being parang becoming more severe. But the other thing is we were a little bit spared by what could have been the worst impact because of the mountains and the trees that are still there. So kabit-kabit yan. Those are all interrelated. And this is what we face. And what is the impact to you? Food security, walang pagkain, health and safety, livelihood and the economy, and peace and order. So very important that we try to take steps to address this triple planetary crisis. Now at PLDT, how do we define sustainability? Kasi nga medyo matanda na kami, di ba? How do we ensure that we actually go forward and ensure long-term profitability? It's really by doing business responsibly. And for us, sustainability is a key driver of the business. It's been identified as one of the strategy pillars to be able to make sure that PLDT and Smart continue into the next century if we must. What we have are, what you see on the screen are what we call material topics. So ano ba yung material topics na yan? Tinanong namin yung aming mga stakeholders kasi pwede naman gawa-gawa kami ng strategy, di ba? Yun pala, it doesn't mean anything to our stakeholders. So we really engaged our stakeholders, among them children, people, students, investors, customers. What is it that's important to you that you think we should be doing? It's not us telling you, this is what we're doing because we think this is important to you. No, we ask the question, ano ba sa tingin nyo? What do you think we should do to be able to address your concerns? And the topics that responded or the responses to those questions are what you see on the board today. On the board, para akong teacher. But it's really investments in infrastructure. So that's basically what PLDT is. We connect the Philippines. It's also about things like operational resource efficiency. So we have to be able to use power, water efficiently. We have to be able to look at employee welfare, customer welfare, and in particular, child protection. And you will hear later on why that's one of the things that we focus on, one of our advocacies. It includes stuff like data privacy and cybersecurity. So sustainability is not only all about environment, but while you hear a lot of people talk about environment and green, I guess the PLDT experience is that cybersecurity, data privacy, child protection are also sustainability issues. So in our last consultation with kids, we asked them, what is it but that's important to you? And what they responded to was child protection, cybersecurity, data privacy, and climate-related risk management. For PLDT, we feel that our customers are very important, but as we connect people to the internet, there is one sector of our customer base that are very vulnerable, diba? We connect kids. But once the kids are connected, they get exposed to all the dangers of the internet. So we feel that it is our responsibility to protect the most vulnerable among our customers. That's why we have a special advocacy about child protection. And when you ask the kids, maybe even for you, what's important to you is how do you protect us online? And that's something that we're spending a lot of resources and efforts on. So in terms of child protection, we champion the safety of our customers. So it's not just, we actually invested in a child protection platform and have partnered with international foundations to block malicious sites. I guess hindi naman kaila sa inyo. You know that among the Philippines is an example, there was a study by the International Justice Mission that 500,000 Filipino children are victims of what they call OSAEC. online sexual abuse and exploitative content, minsan ang problema, magulang pa ang nagbebenta ng kanilang mga anak, di ba? So we feel that while they use our services to do that, then we have to be able to prevent or at least try to minimize the impact on Filipino children. So we've blocked over 2 million URLs. Can you imagine that? 2,000 sites that have malicious content. Kids are the victims of that. And that we've prevented 675,000 attempts. So marami pa sa kwartong ito ang nagtatry mag-access ng horrible content. But that's not, di ba? As you move, they move faster. So we have to continue to be dynamic in blocking access to that content. So we're able to block, but I guess part of our message also is you have also to be able to exercise judgment. First, if you know somebody who's being harmed, tulungan nyo naman i-report natin. We're also working with law enforcers. Nung araw, when kids muster up the courage na pupunta sa barangay para ireklamo yung mga magulang nila, the barangay will say, oh, that's a private thing, di ba? Ayusin nyo na lang sa bahay. Imagine, he mustered enough courage to go to the police to report, tapos sasabihin lang, just go home and figure it out yourselves. But we've worked with local government units to try and train the women's desk officers so that when a child does come and muster enough courage to come, matutulungan siya, di ba? So we've done that. We've helped the lawmakers change the law. Nung araw, telco lang yung may kasalanan. Today, the law has been expanded because the payment to access those sites are done through e-wallets. So pati yung monitoring of where all of the transactions are coming from. We've worked with embassies because I guess we provide the content. Pero sino ba yung nagde-demand dyan? Taga-ibang bayan, di ba? Foreigners demand content of Filipino children. So we're working with multi-sectoral agencies and multi-sectoral groups to be able to keep Filipino children safe. The other thing is about data privacy and cybersecurity. So alam natin with the advent of AI, there are also many dangers that are present or that have emerged and they continue to emerge. I think one of the things that I like to share when we have forum with young kids or parents is one of the things our cybersecurity head said before. Di ba we like to post pictures of our, let's say, our babies in the crib na naka-diaper. And he said, be careful when you post those things because before you know it, it's the face of your child superimposed on some horrible act, and before you know it, they're in a porn site or something like that. And the same caution goes to you. My daughter included. She went to the beach in Bohol, posed in her bathing suit, etc. And I said, be careful, right? The world is no longer as safe as it was before. They can use your face, put it in somebody's body, and before you know it, you're doing something that you've never done. So, yun warning namin sa inyo, we can help you prevent it on our side, but you also need to be able to exercise naman prudence on your side so you don't become victims of online crime. So we've blocked access to 159 billion sites, and I guess that's not enough. Meron pa ring nasa scam, meron pa ring nagka-click. We've prevented 513 million cyber attacks. The Philippines is a if you are able to go to our data center, we have a screen that monitors where the cyber attacks are coming from and what they're directed to. Unfortunately, the Philippines is favorite target. And we all know where the targets are coming from. I will give a guess. We have no prize for the correct answer. We've blocked 455 mobile numbers that have been trying to do phishing, smishing, etc., etc. But again, never enough, but rest assured that your telco is doing their part in trying to keep you safe and your data safe. I think one of the things that we're also very focused on is your data is private. We don't sell your data. When we share your data, it has to have your consent. So PLDT, and that is not your typical sustainability thing, diba? But cybersecurity and data privacy are actually topics under sustainability. The other thing that children identified as important that we should be working on is climate-related risk management. So it's including, let's say, Little do you know that when we shift from copper to fiber, that's actually good for the environment because copper uses a lot of power and therefore releases a lot of GHG emissions. Fiber is more efficient. So when we shift our home services, our home broadband services from copper to fiber, that's actually a low carbon product. So many examples of that. We use renewable energy in our sites. We've fortified our network facilities because resilience during the mga bagyo, making sure that people are able to contact each other is also part of sustainable operations. I think one of the things that maybe we want to highlight today is our focus on circularity. And this is an area where we're very grateful to the SM partners. We've been able to scale up our collection points because SM picked up our little project called Be Kind Recycle and allowed us to put our bins in SM malls. And what that allowed us to do was to expand our reach. Ano bang bayan ng walang SM, di ba? SM is present everywhere else. At the time we signed, I think there were 85 SM facilities. So if you go to an SM facility, if they have a cyber zone, you will see our SM and our PLDT and Smart e-waste bins where you can drop your e-waste in our bins. And I think that's a partnership that has allowed us to collect up to 29.3 metric tons to date, which offset effectively 12 metric tons of carbon. Ano ba yung 12 metric tons of carbon? Had we not collected that, that would have taken over 500 mature trees, hindi seedlings, mature trees, to absorb that carbon that would have otherwise been released in the atmosphere. And I think this is a program that's very important. We were very tuwa, maybe a little anecdote to that, is when we launched the program, it was something for MVP's birthday. We had 2 bins, one in the head office of PLDT, one in the head office of Smart. But as people learned about the project, natuwa sila. Yung Makati Med, narinig niya na meron kaming e-waste bin. Sabi nila, magdala naman kayo ng e-waste bin dito sa Makati Med, di ba? So we put an e-waste bin, and lo and behold, what did we find in the bins? I guess this generation's too young, but maybe Tim and the rest of the more distinguished guests here would appreciate that all of the beepers of the doctors, so nung araw the doctor said beepers, you won't appreciate that. But it's waste that has been stored in cabinets and they don't know where to put it. So I guess this is very important because it allows people accessible way of getting rid of their e-waste. And when we collect them, we give them to accredited processors to be able to make sure that that e-waste does not pollute our landfill so that it keeps our water safe, it keeps our planet safer. So maybe on that note, I will introduce Dr. Efren Victor Tolentino Jr., who is the NU ISD Sustainability Coordinator, who will talk about what NU has done in relation to our e-waste project. So please welcome Dr. Tolentino.
Good afternoon, everyone. In behalf of NU, National University, Manila, I would like to welcome our visitors and guests. A pleasant day to everyone. So, National University work in partnership with PLDT Smart in order to promote and at the same time give awareness in our campuses with regards to sustainability. And based on this, we have started to put e-waste bins in order to not just throw anywhere our electronic waste, instead put it in proper bins so that it will be disposed accordingly. So we also have our activities such as collecting garbages in the campus, such as plastics, and then convert it into a, for a start, minimal income by surrendering it to SM San Lazaro And then whatever income we generate from there, it will be going to the funds of our department, National University Innovation and Sustainable Development. The e-waste program of National University is being supported, of course, by the management for everyone to be aware that we have to promote sustainability. We do it slowly until we will be able to tap the basics and the routines in practicing sustainability. So we have been hearing so much about sustainability. And of course, we understand about this, but I'd like to repeat again so that we don't only hear what it means, but we have to practice it. Sustainability is the practice of meeting present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It involves balancing environmental preservation, economic viability, and social equity to ensure that resources are managed. This is very important. Managed for a long term. The concept emphasizes that a healthy environment, a stable economy, and a just society are interconnected and dependent on one another. For the core principles for the environment, it's the conserving natural resources such as water, air, and raw materials, so they remain available for future use. This includes protecting ecosystems, reducing pollution, and mitigating climate change. For the economy, creating economic systems that are prosperous and stable over the long term without depleting the resources or damaging the environment. And for social, ensuring fair and equitable treatment for all people now and in the future. This includes addressing social inequality and promoting social societies. So I'd like to thank everyone who have presented this afternoon. Very informative information that we get on every companies that were here to present about sustainability, and also in partnership with PLDT. Of course, we appreciate your collaboration with us and our continuous working together to have a good, sustainable, and healthy future. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat, sir, and also for Ma'am Melissa from PLDT. So that concludes our brand speakers for today. And before we proceed to our panel discussion, we'd like to take a moment to acknowledge L'Oreal for their unwavering support in this year's forum. Can we get a round of applause, please, for our co-sponsor, L'Oreal, or one of our sponsors? So aside from their commitment to beauty, L'Oreal also focuses on three key areas: the planet, the people, and their products, with multiple initiatives and day-to-day actions to achieve their goals. So maraming salamat, L'Oreal, ulit for your support today. So if I could please ask all of you to direct your attention to the screen as you watch this video from L'Oreal.
most of our ingredients that are bio-based or derived from abundant minerals. And we're using or recycling 100% of our industrial water by 2030. At L'Oréal Group, we create the beauty that moves the world.
All right, so once again, thank you very much to L'Oreal. And if hindi pa kayo gumagamit ng L'Oreal, you might want to start doing so, because if you do, you can also walk on water. Please don't try that at home. Okay, so kidding aside, we now move to our panel. So at this point, I'd like to invite back on stage our brand speakers, Mr. Timothy Daniels, Mr. Pek Hong Chung, Engineer Ryan Salvador, and of course, Miss Melissa as well to join us, and together with Sir Philip Kuonying to join our panel discussion for this afternoon. All right, so let's just get our chairs ready. Okay. So, all right, if we can have our speakers, please, by all means, you're more than welcome to join us. And joining our brand speakers as well will also be our representative from the National University. Can I get a round of applause? Okay, so we have our faculty member at NU Institute of General Education, Sir John Mark De Jesus. So, Sir John. Okay, so Sir John will be joining us as well. Thank you very much, sir, for representing the NU community. All right. Okay, please have a seat, everyone. Thank you. Do we have... Okay, I'll grab this one here. Okay, so I think I'll go ahead and start, but in a bit we'll open the floor also to the rest of the audience for any questions that they might have. But prior to all of this, we were actually able to gather some questions from the students themselves. And siguro we'll just start off with this question first to kick things off, and then we'll get the ball rolling from there. So the first question, so if you could summarize your company's sustainability mission in one word, all right, in one word, what would that be and why? So if you could summarize your company's sustainability mission in one word, what would that word be and why?
I guess for Megaworld, that word would be now. So we need to act now, do everything we can now, because there's no time to waste. We can already see the ill effects of what was done with the environment, and we need to act together now, not later, but really we need to pull everything together so that we can affect change in the environment.
I would pick the word practical. Sustainability is often seen as a very theoretical or big picture kind of series of concerns, but actually all the things we need to do are very practical. And all the things that we do inside SM are things which we are trying to do to make a difference right now.
Thanks, Timothy. I really like that. And I think even where we are now, using this as a forum, right, to come to students, to come to the next generation, we're trying to take the theoretical aspect of sustainability and really get it to the grassroots where it should be. Exactly. Yeah. So yes, thank you for that. Ms. Melissa, how about you?
I think for us, it's stewardship. I guess the concept of stewardship, it's not yours. You're only caring for it. So when we say we're stewards of resources, we're stewards of the planet, but we're also stewards of our customers, of the future. So maybe for us, it's that. We're taking care of something for someone else.
Yeah, I'm from SteelAsia, and I think for us, it's really about going green, and specifically green steel, because this is, it's not about being cool about going green, but the Philippines really has its natural advantages with our availability of renewable energy, with our scrap recycling being available and not to be exported. So by combining recycling and renewable energy, we can make the greenest steel on earth, and we can create many thousand jobs for the Philippines. I think this is why we are really going green.
All right, thank you very much. Professor John, do you have any questions or anything that you'd like to direct to our panel, especially coming from your interactions with your students on a day-to-day, their questions or their viewpoints on sustainability? Anything you'd like to ask our panel?
Actually, I have one question. I would like to direct it to Sir.
Sir Timothy?
At least Melissa knows it's not her.
To Sir Daniel.
Just call me Tim. That's fine.
Yeah, Timothy Daniels. Yeah. So I'd like to know more about the green finds. I believe I've known SM for quite some time already, and I've seen SM as as mall where we buy stuff and things. And this is only now that I was able to see the greener side of the SM. And for this, with regards to green finds, I would like to know, of course, the things that we sell in the green finds are still from the nature. So I would like to know how do you ensure that in the process there's no exploitation that's happening?
Thank you. This is a really good question, and actually retailing is the DNA, it's the historical start point of SM. And I think it's the malls and the retailing that people most associate with us. So this Green Finds program is very important to us. So we can't tell people what to buy, and we can't tell manufacturers what to make. We're a retailer, we sit in the middle. So we've got millions of Filipino customers who come to our stores, and we've got tens, if not hundreds of thousands of suppliers. But we know that these customers want to have good habits, but often they don't know what it is that fits that desire, right? What's a good product? And we know that manufacturers want to sell more, and quite often they need the feedback in order to know what it is that's going to sell, because there is also a perception that for something to be green, it's going to have to be more expensive. And so manufacturers can be a little bit wary about whether it's really going to sell if they put it in place. So we can't tell either of these two groups what to do, but what we can do is sit in the middle, and we can highlight the products that we are pretty sure are going to be what people are looking for, and that will be at a price point that they will want to buy. So that was the thinking behind starting up this Green Finds program. And we started it, I think, 5-6 years ago. We started out by looking for some really obvious products. And we had criteria for things like, does it use recycled products? Does the company certify, or is it belonging to international certified standards for recycled materials, or using less water or less chemicals? Things that are organic products are in there. We also like products that are actually produced in the Philippines, where we can encourage domestic production, and particularly when it comes from small communities or collectives of people who are really very small and they need a helping hand to get their products out there, but these are actually really good things that people would like to buy. So we basically scout around and we try and find these. And then when we look at them, we cannot 100% guarantee. That will always be a risk, right? We cannot 100% guarantee. But to the best of our knowledge and our best judgment as retailers and merchandisers, looking at these companies, we try and find the ones that meet the description, and then we label them as green finds. So quite often, if you go into the department store, you will see a specific green finds display, and we will group together some of the products that we found. And it could be themed or different times of year, and you'll see different things. But as you walk around the store, you'll see products highlighted. And quite often there's a green label attached to it. And so the couple that I mentioned, the one that always resonates with me is that denim company, because their specific mission, so fashion is actually not a very environmental industry. It uses a lot of water, it uses a lot of chemicals, it can be quite bad. They actually try to recycle a lot of their products. They use more, we like companies that use natural dyes. We use it when they use technologies that use less water, when they recycle existing fabrics. So that's the kind of company that we really like. And we see our mission as to try and provide that education in the middle, so that you guys go buy more of the good things, and then we can tell the suppliers, hey, this works, and then they can produce more of it, and then you can have more choices, and hopefully we create this virtual cycle.
Thank you for that, sir.
If I can just maybe piggyback a bit from that, and then I'll maybe broaden it just to include the other industries that are here as well. But you mentioned that maybe some of the hesitancy that comes from businesses is really the fact that the perception of the cost implication that comes with having green or greener products, it comes at a heavier cost, right? But in your opinion, and this may vary between your industries, are we seeing a trend now where the consumer demand now for greener products is growing at a pace where we can eventually expect the prices of these greener products to come down to meet that demand, or are we still at kind of a gray area, or is education still needed more in forums like this to make people aware that they actually have the power in terms of their consumption to drive down these prices based on where they choose to spend their money. So I'll open up that question to anyone.
And on to that as well, whether that demand is coming from a younger demographic exclusively, no? So maybe people can understand what power they have.
I can answer again. I don't want to take over from the panel. But,
Sure.
so actually, you've hit on a couple of things. So it's called the green premium, right? It's like, how much is the green premium? And in different sectors, it can be really, really big. Even in manufacturing, like I remember, 10 years ago, we used to talk about the green premium for solar panels, made them unaffordable. Well, what happens is when there's a lot of demand, people find technological solutions to bring the price down. And now, solar panels are actually very cost effective. They pay out in about 4 years if you put them on your house. It's the same in any industry, right? The more there is a demand for it, the more people will find solutions to bring the cost down. And the more demand there is, then the more compelling the case is, and you also get the economy to scale. So I would say, yes, the green premium is coming down on things. And if it's maybe not completely there, and it is slightly more expensive, ask yourself, how much do I need to buy, right? Do I really need to go buy 5 shirts, or can I buy 4 at a slightly larger price?
Miss Melissa?
I think I'll answer that. And to Philip's question, I think there is a generational difference in consumer power. In more advanced countries, the younger generations are already saying, I'm not going to support a product that's not green. I think the Philippines hasn't gotten to that point yet, because obviously our economy is very different. You'll probably go to something that's very low cost. But this generation is making that decision. For example, if 2 products are the same, so it's a commodity, right? Nothing differentiates one from the other. Then sustainability can be a differentiator, because I think kids today are very smart. They look at, what do you stand for? What does this company stand for? That goes by for consumers, that goes by for employees. Our future employees, maybe when we started out, it's like, who's offering me a job? The only question is, how much am I gonna get? Today, when you have that conversation with kids like you or the new graduates, they're saying, I want to work for a company that means something, that does something for the environment. So there's an additional layer of variables that they consider in their decision making. And from what we've noticed is from an enterprise perspective. So PLDT provides service to individual customers, but we also provide service to what we call enterprise customers, corporates. There you will see a difference in maybe the US customers, not so much, but our European customers are asking us, what are you doing in terms of sustainability? And you can't get by just saying, oh, we kind of do this and do that. They will give you a long questionnaire with 100 questions. They will ask you how much emissions, which of your products are low carbon. So it becomes now the differentiator. It becomes your basis for providing service to somebody else. So that focus on sustainability is entering the business in that conversation. So I guess for those who still think sustainability, that's just a fad, I think what we encounter in our day-to-day at PLDT and Smart is customers are starting to think that way. Our new employees are starting to include it in their decision making, and enterprise customers are asking us, what are you doing? And so I guess it will become more and more of that going forward.
Perhaps I would like also to share something about the thoughts shared by Sir. In the sense of, in terms of national university, how do we frame it with our curriculum is that we make our students more critical thinkers and reflective thinkers. And of course, that is how they should always come up with a decision making. And of course, and coupled with the sustainability efforts of the university, one consideration also is the ethical considerations that we highlight in every way they do and every choice they make, now whatever it is, whether in their daily lives, in their habits, or whatever they buy in malls or in the market.
Mr. Chong?
Yes, coming from a hard to abate sector, I hope you remember what's hard to abate sector. I think we are in transition phase, meaning we have customers who are showing clear preference for more sustainable, more green products, and they tend to be the minority. And we also have majority of the customers who like to have it, but they still want to get the most competitive price products out there, which tend to be not green. But looking at global macroeconomics, we are seeing green industries be able to access so much more financing than the non-green industries. And hence, their growth rate is very fast. And they are so much more financial resources invested in innovating these industries, as what Tim said. So actually, more technologies have come up, successfully bring down the cost of the more sustainable products. So really, we are in transition phase. Today, we may not see customers really paying a green premium, but we see the trend that they're asking for it. And if we are able to offer a price that is not very different, we see a clear preference for customers where they're going. So in that sense, I think the future is bright.
Great. Engineer, how about for you?
Just relating it probably to the office industry and probably energy. I'll just pick up from what our colleague here mentioned. Sustainability becomes a differentiator because in buildings or structures, you can replicate anything. The design is there, the technology is there. But if you use green products, green technology, green energy, that becomes a differentiator. What is happening now? There are what you call green leases. When you invite a BPO company to rent out a building, they ask you all these questions. Are you doing segregation? Do you have renewable energy? Do you have this? Do you have that? Given that any building facility can be replicated, these sustainable programs, designs that you incorporate in the building becomes a differentiator for your product, for your building. Sadly, I think personally, our public is not there yet. We're seeing this from multinational companies coming into the Philippines. The hope is that the young generation patronize these companies that promote sustainable practices, sustainable operations, and incorporate sustainability. Probably going back to your question, right now there's a green premium, as Tim here mentioned, but hopefully if everyone, the younger generation, patronizes these things, the prices will go low and it becomes affordable for everyone.
Question lang, for consumer-related activity. I mean, what though are the pressing problems you think the Philippines faces to be able to really turn sustainable or green? Because like for consumer products, we're still in that thingy culture, di ba? I mean, all the multinationals are still pushing that. And if you agree with me, even if we double or triple our country's carbon emissions, it's negligible in terms of global carbon emissions. The really bigger problem here in the Philippines is really plastic waste. No? So I mean, what can we do to rectify that situation, or what can you tell the kids in terms of, what would be like the real takeaway from what we're doing today that they can create within their own existence?
I guess I'll start. One of the things that maybe stands in the way of delivering greener products or to contribute to the green premium is that we don't have enough supply of renewable energy. So much as we want to, for example, kami, we're part of a bigger group, Meralco, but we have to compete for supply. And there's not enough supply today. Not to say that that's not going to be the case going forward, because Meralco has the largest solar panel farm that's coming on stream in a couple of years. But at the moment, there's not enough renewable energy to supply manufacturers. There's not enough battery supply. So there's a lot of solar, there's a lot of sun, but what happens in the evening, unless you have good battery power, you won't be able to use renewables. So I think that's contributing to the cost premium. The other one is there's not enough financing. When you talk to the MSMEs, they want to go green, but they don't have financing to support. So I think that's something that needs to be triggered to be able to develop our ability, all collective ability to become sustainable. But I think one of the things that the Philippines has done, as Mr. Philip said earlier, we're not a big producer, much as we want to reduce our carbon footprint, that's really good. But the big producers are the developed countries who left the world as it is, as we face today. So for the Philippines, I think the national target is very realistic in the sense that we may have committed to, 75% GHG reductions by 2030 or 2050, but we qualified that. We said, we need funding to be able to deliver. Without funding, maybe we'll reduce our emissions by less than 2%. But the critical thing that the Philippines is doing and must focus on is adaptation and resilience. We are the victims. The country is a victim of climate change and extreme climate weather changing patterns. We cannot wait for GHG emissions to be reduced and all that because climate change is here and now. So we need to be able to capacitate all the communities to be able to protect themselves against the effects of climate change. So adaptation, resilience, those are the things that we need to focus on. And I think to some extent, we've learned. In the case of PLDT, we've fortified our cell sites to be able to withstand stronger wind power. When I joined PLDT, I think that cell sites were designed to take on, 60 kilometer per hour winds. Now the design is up to 300-kilometer winds because climate has changed. So that's part of adaptation, that's part of resilience. So to some extent, it is GHG reductions, but to a large extent, it's also adaptation because there's so much limitation in terms of financial resources, supply of renewables in the country.
In our case, in National University, on the sense or in on the level of students, I think it boils down with how good we have crafted the curriculum, especially for science, technology, and society, because I am one of the professors teaching that subject or that course. In that particular course, we actually help our students to make them realize what really is the problem. Actually, we have crafted the curriculum quite unique from the other university in the sense that we have integrated systems thinking. When we speak of systems thinking, by the way, students, you will get to understand more of this in lesson 4 of your STS. Systems thinking is more of knowing all the perspectives of the problem, because not all the problems comes in a straight direction, that once you address this one, you may get to address this effect of that problem, because in the community, there can be different sources or causes of one problem alone. And so in systems thinking, we make our students more aware of the other contributory factors in the community so that they may be able to address the problem. Because that's only when they get to address the problem effectively, when they know what is really the problem, or they have understand the problem, the problem at hand. That's it for me.
All right, thank you very much. Sir Timothy?
I just wanted to pick up on the plastics one for a second,
Sure.
because that hasn't been addressed. And the Philippines it really is one of the world's worst producers of disposable plastics, most of which eventually ends up in the sea. And as an archipelago country with such rich marine life, right? We're one of the worst contributors to the damage of that through plastics. So this is something actually very critical to address. So it's good we have a law. It's a very aggressive law. From a corporate side, it's actually quite hard to deliver how aggressive the law is. But I just wanted to point out the problem is very complicated. And you need different groups of people to be part of the answer. So the first is the manufacturers, right? So a lot of products are actually better produced plastic. Food safety with plastic is at its highest level, right? So a lot of food really probably does need to be in plastics in order to be safe. But there are a lot of products which don't necessarily need to be plastic. And also one of the highest components of plastic that gets wasted is the packaging. There's a packaging waste in plastics is enormous, and that really is the ultimate single use that's going to end up in a landfill or in the sea. So manufacturers need to look at it and find alternatives, but alternatives that still allow them to produce the products that people want. Then you've got the consumers, right? So we're the ones who can make choices about what products to buy and whether we'll pay a little bit more for paper packaging rather than plastics and all of that. But part of it also in the Philippines is, big part of the plastics is sachets. So we are a massive sachet using country here in the Philippines. And that is a terrible use of plastics. It's completely single use. It's very hard to undo the creation of those. It's very hard to collect them. And they almost all end up in the river and then they end up going into the sea. So why is sachets so big here? It's because the unit price is really small. It's actually not value for money, right? It's very, very cost ineffective to buy a whole bunch of sachets rather than to buy a single bottle of shampoo. But because people buy sachets because of poverty. So actually, at the consumer level, we also have other issues that we need to deal with if we're trying to really seriously deal with the plastics problem. And then let's acknowledge plastics are going to be produced. The third group is we need to somehow collect these plastics. We need to segregate it. If it's a sachet, we need to take out the lining from the outside because they're different materials. And then we need to have a technology which turns it into something else. And all of that requires organization. And actually, the way that waste is gathered and the way that waste is dealt with in the Philippines is highly fragmented and inefficient, both locally and globally. I think that's an area that we need some national level attention if we're to come up with solutions. So plastics is a really big problem. We should all feel pretty guilty, but it is a very complicated solution.
Thank you very much, Tim. At this point, I think we'd like to hear from the students, so we'll open up the floor for anyone who has questions. So if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand. I'll head on over to you. Okay, don't be shy. All right. Yung mga magtatanong ng question, may raffle. Pwede mag-raffle, okay? All right. So anybody
price. Raffle price.
Anybody want to ask a question? Do we have any questions from the audience? Yee. Nagtuturuan. Okay, any? All right, then while we're waiting, I'll try to maybe relate the topic a little bit more back to the kids. But for our companies here with us this afternoon, are there any internships, advocacies, or volunteer programs that are actually our students can participate or join? Or get involved with, particularly for sustainability programs, if these are existing already in your companies?
With Megaworld, we do have a program that's directly under the sustainability manager over there, Daryl.
Pinasa mo na gada.
So he's taking in interns. So those of you who want to apply, please approach him later.
Anong salary daw?
Okay, so there's also allowances. So technically paid internship. Okay, guys, baka you're interested, Megaworld. Okay.
Would you please stand up and identify
so
yourself?
if you're interested, just have your CVs ready. You can pass it over to Sir Daryl over here. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Tim, or
yeah, we don't actually have a formal internship program on that, but that's something I think I want to go away and think about. Partly it's quite a technical area, so I have to think about how many people we could actually use. But what I would say is that even in the absence of a formal program, there are lots of volunteering things that we do in SM. We do coastal cleanups, we do various activities in the mall, we do waste segregation. Just go and check out our websites or go and look at SM Cares, and you'll find, if you want to spend some time doing something, we've got plenty of volunteer programs while we figure out what to do with internships.
And Tim, I think you have the SM Foundation with your scholars, no? I mean, maybe you can,
yes,
how they apply for the scholarships.
Yes, so for those of you who don't know, SM Foundation has a number of advocacies, and one of them is educational scholarships. So they take thousands, I think they've just hit over 1,000 a year students who are typically coming from families that would not be able to afford to go to university. Once we've assessed the students, the scholars, they're essentially funded fully for all of their costs, including the associated costs, not just their education, all the way through their education with no obligation to do anything back to SM at the end. SM Foundation, for those who are interested, you can find it online.
All right, so be sure to check those out, guys.
Like SM, we don't have an internship program at the moment, but our foundation also sponsors focused on STEM, engineering, particularly engineering and IT for the data center. But maybe I will, if you might allow me to digress a little bit, I guess reacting to what was said in regard to critical thinking, because we just had a session yesterday, and maybe it's related to telco, it's related to sustainability, about the subject of AI. I think there's a lot of misinformation, information about AI. And I think one of the takeaways from our session yesterday, and maybe this is relevant to all of you, is what can you do in your respective careers, where you are in your education today, that will make you relevant in the age of AI. And I think I was very happy to hear that one of the things you're focusing on is critical thinking, because that's what the expert from Google yesterday said. You can tell the machine to learn so many things, but at the end of the day, it's the critical thinking part that the machine cannot mimic. And the other one is the management of complexities. It's the experience you have about managing many problems. The machine will only learn from you. So I think when you start to think of what your careers will be going forward, if there's anything that you focus on, the technical part you can probably learn. Maybe the machine will learn from you, or the machine can be taught to do that. But the part that the machine at the moment and maybe in the future will have difficulty with is critical thinking. So very good that you're focusing on that, because that's what the machine cannot take away. And maybe I relate AI to sustainability. The AI data sits in data centers, and data centers are very power intensive, very water cooling intensive. And what PLDT and SMART and EPLDT are doing is we're trying to get as much renewable energy to power those data centers, but also be conscious that when you toss a program or a problem to AI, that runs the data center, power, and we're trying to deliver that power to you in the most green way possible, with the use of green energy and by being very prudent about the use of water. So I just thought, very commendable that you focused on critical thinking, and if there's anything you learn from school, it's that, because that will keep you alive in the age of AI.
Coming to SteelAsia, we are, all our expansion into green steel. So we actually have regular internship, but mainly engineers. Actually, it's a very good suggestion. My colleague is just there. We actually have a number of new sustainability projects coming up next year, and I think it's definitely a great idea for me to bring back to the company to actually consider internship for sustainability projects.
All right, thank you. And for NU, anything that we'd like to share with the students?
For NU, of course, I'm not gonna tell you something about internship, but it's more of community project or community engagement projects. That's what we have here at NU. Every term, or at least every month, we have community engagement projects where all students are given invitations for them to be for them to join such particular event, as well as the faculties, not together with the faculty. So we do different engagement programs, from cleanup drives to donations, blood donations, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. If we can get a round of applause, please, for our panel. Thank you again for spending your time and sharing your knowledge with us this afternoon. If I could ask you all to please stand, we'll just have a quick photo op. So we'll grab our photos first with the panel. And then right after this, I will ask our Manila Bulletin executives to join them on stage. Yeah, we'll just grab the seats. Okay, last chair, and all right, there we go. All right. Can we now ask our Manila Bulletin executives, Ms. Irish Lorenzo and Mr. Leslie Arajo, to join our panelists on stage for a photo op. And there we go. Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please, for all our panelists. Again, thank you for being here and sharing your time with us this afternoon. Okay, so a few reminders before we conclude our program for today. O syempre may raffle din. Don't worry guys. I'm not gonna let go of the raffle. Pero ito muna. Okay, ito muna. So, NU, National University, is inviting everyone to celebrate their 125th founding anniversary on December 5 at the MOA Sky. So with performances by Lola Amor, Noel Carabangon, Six Cycle Mind, True Faith, and Yeng Constantino. So this is a grabe yung lineup, no? So tickets are only 500 pesos and you can register through this QR code on screen or purchase from any SM ticket outlets, okay? So if you enjoy any of those artists or bands, I'm sure you're gonna love... Okay, wait, nagsascan kayo. Go ahead. I'm blocking the way. Ayan. Okay, yan, scan lang. There we go. Okay, so while you're all scanning, I'm going to take this opportunity to award our raffle winners. Okay, excited mag-raffle. All right. Okay, here we go, guys. Alam mo, here at the Sustainability Forum, we are very generous. I'm pretty sure with the number of pieces of paper that I have, I think everyone is walking home with a prize this afternoon. So first of all, we are giving away for 9 winners. Who likes Coke? Coca-Cola. Okay, we have 9 winners of Coca-Cola Original. So congratulations to Jade Ablaza, Ella Enteria, Hannah Soriano, Richelle Asuncion, Limbert Lomboy, Nina Angeli de la Cruz, Jean Allison Villas, Juliana Catherine Larojo, and Precious Diane Llanaza. All right? So congratulations to our 9 winners of Coca-Cola Original. Okay. Ito naman, we have Coca-Cola naman. Coca-Cola pa rin, pero sugar-free. Coke Zero. Okay, yan. Uy, daming mahilig sa Coke Zero, ah. Ako rin, actually. Okay, ito naman, 12 winners. Okay, 12 winners. So, we have Blue, Moni Robiso, yeah. Ralph Prince de Bauten, Charisse Phoebe Custodio, Brian Melendez, Jode Valera, Althea J. Barameda, Jeremy Ilaneta, Jeremy Ilaneta, Kyla Mejorado. Wow. Saya ng Coke, no? Masarap. Okay. So, Precious Latoskin, Juliana Navarro, Raven April Pilar, and Gian Bonaubra. Yeah, Gian Bonaubra. Okay. So congratulations to our winners of Coke Zero. Okay, next. We have 20 winners of... Di ko pa nga sinasabi yung price, 20 winners lang eh. Okay. Goldilocks. Wow. Goldilocks. Is this Bit It? Bit. Okay, sorry. Goldilocks Bit Packs. Ayan. May pang-merienda. Okay. Okay, guys, here we go. 20 winners. Congratulations. Cassandra Lim, Andrea Chelsea Milanes, Johanna Babiera, Sidane Santos, Rhea Lynn Mendoza, Izane Magbitang, Maria Ziena Fernandez, Jamila Kate Makuha, Joseph Liedo, Ayisa Omiter, Junio Gavril, Jelaine Gongora, Jeriel Janairo, Jana Camerino, yeah, that's Camerino, Jana Camerino, and Precious Nicole Garsota. Okay, we also have Ariana Soriano, Bea Micaela Gumapi, Marie Fleur Ann Teresiu, Lauren Immaculate Palmero, and Chesk Pureno. All right, so congratulations to all our lucky winners of Goldilocks Bit Packs. Guys, di pa ako tapos. Okay, wait lang. 48 winners. Hindi ko pa sinasabi kung ano, 48 winners nga lang eh. Of L'Oreal Absolute Molecular Repair Shampoo. Okay. So ngayon, pwede na rin kayo maglakad sa tubig, kagaya ng commercial. Okay. Okay. Oh guys, so ito na yung 48 winners. Ang dami nito. Okay, congratulations to Margaret Garcia, Luther Andre Obenario, Anthony Jade Morales, John Carlo Dino, Mark Dwayne Kayabyab, Jane Cedric Diaz, Chloe Peralta, Mike Gerald Quintela, Beatrina Verayo, wow, Rohels Stephen Herolao. Alright, congrats. Ay, saktong-sakto. Ganda pa naman ang buhok mo. Oh, perfect. Okay. Sorry, where am I? Yeah, Daisy Emilio, Cyril Reyes, Raisha Fabella, Cian Matthew Mendiola, Ramona Santa Ana, Harvey Balotro, John Carlo Panzuela, Daisilyn Guillermer, Reynaldo Aragon, Lara Saludades, Julaine Hazley Quinto, Christian Andre Acad, Bianca Denise Encinas, Devora Keisha Luciano, Edsel Yvonne Miranda, LJ Samantha Oribelo, Nads Garduque, Jan Laville Barbosa, Jolina Bruzola, Ren Cayago, Hasea Duran, Franzine Fabro, Gwyneth Saligumba, Julian De Leon, Kent Munda, Jean Lumbria, Celis Makatangay, Benedict Pardigon, Justin Dugay, Akesa Tupaz, Mary Rose Isia, Rugia Lalugan, is that your name? Rugia? Sarah Nicole Roman, Casemilio Cassandra, wow. Okay. Sofia Bucaloy, parang nanalo ng loto ah. Ang galing. Okay. Okay, so Lalaine Olazo, Raymond Kyle Flores, and our last winner, Laika Del Rosario. All right. So again, congratulations to all our raffle winners. So, in order for you to claim, you just have to go to the registration booth. Pakita nyo lang yung ID, alright? So, for all the names I call, just show your ID para ma-redeem nyo yung raffle prizes nyo. Alright. So, again, a big round of applause for all of our brand sponsors and partners. To L'Oreal, to Goldilocks, and to Coca-Cola. Maraming salamat po. Okay, so at this point, guys, before you leave, wag muna kayo umalis. But I will ask all of you to stand up first, all right? So let's all please stand because we will take this opportunity to sing the National University Hymn.
Gave me love and made me strong. I shall defend thy glory. I strive to bring thee more fame. I shall bring thee honor into the cause of national youth. I shall bring thee golden the colors of national youth. My pledge, my life, my honor, to thee, my alma mater, make me grow in wisdom, give me love and make me strong. I shall defend thy glory, I strive to bring thee more fame. I shall bring thee honor to the colors of national youth. I shall bring thee golden the colors of national youth.
Okay, thank you. Ready na tayo para sa susunod na UAP game, no? Nag-practice na. And with that, thank you very much. That concludes our day 1 of the Manila Bulletin Sustainability Forum 2025. We hope that today has become a moment or one of the moments that it inspires you to start something impactful. Once again, my name is Sam Thurman and I hope to see you all again tomorrow for day 2 of the Manila Bulletin Sustainability Forum. Thank you and good afternoon, guys.